Today we're reading 2 Corinthians chapter 10. Now, in the previous couple chapters, Paul was talking about being generous as a Christian, and now he's going to sort of switch topics and he's going to talk about his authority as a leader. Remember, Paul had spent a lot of time in Corinth. He established the church there, but there were some false teachers. We're going to read about them in this chapter. There were some false teachers there who were saying that they had more authority than Paul did. And so that's what he's talking about. He says, first of all, now I, Paul, appeal to you with the gentleness and kindness of Christ, though I realize you think I'm timid in person and bold only when I write from far away. So apparently these false teachers were claiming that Paul was really bold when he was writing a letter, but whenever he was there face to face in Corinth, that he wasn't as bold. And so he said, listen, hey, trust me, I want to be kind and gentle towards you, but I can get bold even face to face. And then he says this, and again, he's defending himself and those who traveled with him against the false teachers that apparently had infiltrated the church there in Corinth. He said, we use God's mighty weapons, not worldly weapons, to knock down the strongholds of human reasoning and to destroy false arguments. We destroy every proud obstacle that keeps people from knowing God, and we capture their rebellious thoughts and teach them to obey Christ. So you can see he's referring probably a little bit to his boldness. They really do have boldness. But more than anything, you're going to see that Paul is contrasting himself with the false teachers. And he's saying, listen, we're not just putting on a show. We really are from God, and the weapons we use are spiritual weapons, and we're using them to help people to come to faith in Christ. And remember, Paul had led so many of these Corinthians to faith in Christ. So let's scroll down just a little further. He says in verse 12, oh, don't worry, we wouldn't dare say that we are as wonderful as these other men, again, speaking about the false teachers, who tell you how important they are. But they're only comparing themselves with each other, using themselves as a standard of measurement. How ignorant. Now, we don't really know very much about these false teachers. We don't know what their teachings were. They're probably not the Judaizers that we read about back in Galatians, because if so, Paul probably would have said something about their bad theology. But one thing is for sure, they had infiltrated the church. They were probably Jewish, and they were claiming that they were better than Paul. And so he says this in verse 15. We don't boast and claim credit for the work someone else has done. Instead, we hope that your faith will grow, so that the boundaries of our work among you will be extended. So you notice that really he's talking about the fact that, and this is true for every Christian in every culture, in every age, that we're all supposed to be out there helping other people pursue God. And so Paul had introduced them to Christ, and now he's saying to them, to the regular Corinthians, hey, I hope that you go out now and share your faith with other people so that everyone can know the message of Jesus Christ. And then he finishes this chapter with this, verse 18. When people commend themselves, he's talking about the false teachers again, it doesn't count for much. The important thing is for the Lord to commend them. And so as you read this chapter, you're going to notice that Paul definitely does not commend the false teachers. He speaks against them, and he defends his own ministry. So you're ready to read chapter 10, and we'll see you tomorrow for chapter 11.